what I want to go over for the majority of my presentation is what are we going to do to prepare guys for a practice or game? What are we going to do in our practice, I guess? And then what are we going to do to recover? So you're going to see a little bit of overlap between what I speak about and what some of the other speakers have spoken about and probably will speak about this afternoon, but I think that's a good thing. I think it shows how much importance is being placed on some of the things that we'll talk about and we'll go over more specifically. Tanner talked about arm strength, or I'm sorry, his arm program. Sammy talked about the hip mobility circuit. I think that's great. Everybody's going to have slightly different ones, okay? I'll give you some ideas of what I like to do and what I've researched and what I've found out, what I think works best for our guys, particularly catchers in general, and I'll tell you kind of how I would set up a program, but ultimately you need to set up a program for your athletes. One of the questions from the last segment was, well, what band should we use, or where should we start? What's a good starting point? For most of this stuff, body weight exercises are a good starting point. We'll get to that in a little bit. But again, each athlete is going to be different. So if I'm 36 years old and weigh 205 pounds, my routine is going to be a lot different for hip mobility than a 14-year-old catcher who's 5'2" and weighs 108 pounds. Okay, so a big difference. But we're going to start off with a dynamic warm-up. Then we'll go under a hip mobility and stability circuit. Then we'll talk about ankle mobility and stability. And then we'll do our shoulder activation and warm-up, which ultimately is our pregame warm-up that gets us ready to play catch and ready to go into practice or have a game.